Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing fantastic and that you're all having an absolutely incredible day. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. It is a free and easy way to support the channel and to help out the algorithm. And a very big thank you to everyone who leaves a comment every single day. It helps out the channel a lot. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Once again, another action-packed full day of cryptocurrency news because there doesn't seem to be any, the word's not respite or like rest, but like there's just a constant flow of news is the right way to say that. Coming from this space, it seems to be never ending because there's always something going on in very popular news that I get, but it's also like, so remember years ago, we used to have a lot of analysts who would come forward and they'd be like, Bitcoin's definitely going to $10,000. And we were like, well, yeah, it's at 9,800. So it's probably going to go there. Or we had people before when Bitcoin was at like 92,000 on Twitter. They were like, Bitcoin's going to 100K and nobody knows it. And I was like, no, I think we kind of all know it because it's at 92,000. So there's nothing really stopping it from hitting 100,000. Today in the news is more of a water is wet kind of thing, but it got people riled up and that's why it ended up in popular news. Crypto giant, his name is Changpeng Zhao, one of the most influential figures in digital assets, recently reiterated his famous mantra, and it is, and I quote, "If you can't hold, you won't be rich," end quote. Originally stated in February of 2021, this sentiment has since become a cornerstone of his investment philosophy. Cool it a little bit because, no, it's kind of the investment philosophy of every investment class and not just Changpeng Zhao's. I don't know who writes these articles. Sometimes I sit here and I'm like, oh gosh, it's a little weird. So Changpeng Zhao recently on Twitter, I mean, at least the tweets that I keep seeing on my timeline or whatever it's called, he's like retweeting stuff from before that he said years ago. So besides this one, he also recently, he reposted something from a couple of years ago that said, when Bitcoin's over 100,000, I can't wait to see the headlines. Bitcoin just crashed to 88,000 or something like that because we went there like 10 days ago and everyone was like, oh my gosh, he predicted the future. And it's like, no, Bitcoin always has those kind of price fluctuations. I just assume that Changpeng Zhao has a brain and he understands that like there's going to be dips in price of some sort of way. But the big news is if you can't hold, you won't be rich, which is how it usually goes. Have you seen the memes online? You must have. The memes online of like old people dancing and it says like Samantha dancing because she bought a house for 3 acorns and some toenail clippings back in 1960 and now it's worth over $1 million. This is how rich people get rich. You don't relinquish the things that you have. This is why I always like have to keep repeating, I can't and will never tell you what to do with your money. However, understand that long-term growth and wealth comes from holding assets. This is, I mean, it's really like just how it's always kind of been. But I think a lot of times people need to hear these things because they don't really understand it. Most people are looking to like tomorrow morning when they have to get up as opposed to like 10 to 15 years in the future. There's like a lot of people don't have like a long-term vision because they want everything right now, not understanding that you will as long as you continue to pay attention to, what's going on. With a touch of humor, Changpeng Zhao noted 4 years ago today, some things never changed. Emphasizing the significance of the number 4 in his long-term market outlook, Changpeng Zhao's remark alludes to it says his well-known 4-year cycle theory. Who the heck has this person never heard of any other human being on the planet? This person's writing as if Changpeng Zhao is the first person to say these things. Changpeng Zhao alluded to his well-known 4-year cycle theory. It's not his, it's everyone's. We know what the heck the 4-year cycle is. Bitcoin has a halving every 4 years, which suggests that the cryptocurrency market experiences bull runs every 4 years following a period of bear market and recovery. With the last major rally peaking in 2021, this theory points to 2025 as the next potential bull run. Whoever wrote this article, I don't know who you are, but maybe writing isn't for you. That's not being mean, but you need to get it together. Cool. Very popular news. It's nice to see that Changpeng Zhao is back after everything that wrongfully happened to him over the last couple of years. So, if you haven't seen, he has pictures of him skiing and eating rich people food, and he's talking about the market again. So, yeah, it's nice to see that he's doing well. He is, I said many times, one of the very few people in this space who I actually would trust. I mean, I have no idea what he's like as an actual person, but it's mainly him and Vitalik seem to be like the only or some of the very few higher up trustworthy people who kind of are also very transparent as well with a lot of things that they do within the market. But cool. Yeah. If you can't hold, you won't be rich. That's not Changpeng Zhao saying. That's just literal investment advice from every single person who's ever invested who has money. If we're talking about, and I mean not to segue here, but if we're talking about, like long-term growth within this market, this is what I think a lot of people keep forgetting as well when we talk about like being able to stake these coins to also get passive income from it. For those of you who are blissfully unaware, Bitcoin and apparently also at some point soon, Litecoin will also have staking on their chain as well, which will also give you passive income. But a lot of people aren't looking to the future, and that usually comes to the detriment of their wallet. That's the Changpeng Zhao news. How wise. Wow, can't believe it. And yeah, let's move on. Also in once again news, Canary Capital has filed for a 19B-4 form with the US SEC for a Hedera H-bar exchange traded fund to be listed on NASDAQ. I believe there are now 2 or 3 companies who are trying to do this. It's becoming a bit jumbled because it's happening all at the same time. If you've missed any of the last couple of videos, we just heard that Grayscale is applying for a Polkadot ETF. Grayscale is also applying for, I believe, a Litecoin and an XRP one. Canary Capital is one of those companies who has I think 4 or 5 different filings for different coins as well. This is constantly popping up in the news. As I stated before previously, I find it very weird that, what's the word? A lot of people just aren't paying attention to anything that's happening with these ETF filings. And once again, I'm not expecting you to, dance for joy upon hearing these words, but crypto is so heavily already intertwined into the traditional financial market in multiple different ways. And this year is not to use the word unprecedented once again, but by the end of this year, we're probably going to have around 50 different Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other altcoin ETFs on the market. And those are just within the United States because other countries are launching them as well. They tend to not make popular news because for some reason people overlook what's happening everywhere else. Sure, why not? The thing is that I said before a number of years ago At some, I was not expecting it to be packaged in the ETF form, but I said at some point we would hear coins that like are going to like make it. When you hear what the institutions and the big money is going after, this would normally be me an indication as to what I personally should be paying more attention to, because that's where the big money is going. So much attention continues to nearly exclusively be paid by retail investors to what's happening with Bitcoin's price, what happens with the inflows and outflows from the Bitcoin ETFs, that a lot of people also are like not really gauging what big money is doing. But this also ties into the news that we get sometimes about like only this amount of wallets have this much Bitcoin or this much Ether or this much XRP, and then people scream centralization. Well, guess what? Rich people buy when prices are low and also when they're high. There's no real whatever for them because they're expecting prices to do a 20, 50, 700x over the course of the next couple of decades. So I'm pretty sure, no, it is. Hedera H-bar is also one of the coins that is on the Made in America list and therefore would be in the future one of the tax-free coins as well. So a lot of times, if not all the times, whenever you hear a company is filing for an altcoin ETF, it's usually because there's some kind of like heavily, institutional interest behind the scenes for it. People don't pay attention to the news as we get it. And then 2 years down the line, when the coin has done a 30, 40, 50x in price, people go, "What? I wish I had gotten this when it was cheaper." We hear this news. Even the news that we get is secondhand. Understand that like before Canary or Grayscale is even thinking of filing this, they're accumulating it already. They work with other companies who are like, we're really looking into that coin. We, the company ourselves, we've accumulated a couple million of it, but we would like a securitized version to be able to have more tax benefits. Cool. We'll start working on it. They put this information forth and they start thinking about actually doing it. And then they put all the paperwork together for months. And then they file it with the SEC. We get the news that the filing has happened. This is when the news hits us. So for months behind the scenes, these companies have already been accumulating. It's kind of like when we heard like BlackRock announcing that they were going to, file an application for a Bitcoin ETF. And remember the articles? They were like, it's crazy that BlackRock is just now on this day getting into Bitcoin. And I'm like, do you think that BlackRock woke up and was like, I'm feeling Bitcoiny today? No, they've been in this thing for longer than you probably have. They're just now getting into this market after making sure that there was enough liquidity and extra money that would like fuel them and make them richer. Then they file for it. They're not waiting with bated breath for a yes from the SEC as to if this thing is going to go through. Because once it is BlackRock, they know it's going to go through. But the secondary point is that they're also accumulating for themselves. Remember, there was a news article last year. Oh my gosh, such ridiculousness. There was a news article that for I think 2 or 3 of BlackRock's funds, they would also, as a company, be buying up Bitcoin ETF shares for those funds as well. People were like, BlackRock is buying Bitcoin. And it's like, were you born yesterday or what exactly am I missing about your intelligence there? Because that when banks offer crypto services to their clients, you think the bank doesn't own Bitcoin and just bought it 24 hours before? These companies have been here for so long. I am anticipatingly worried about the next 10 years for global finance. All the assets are moving into the hands of the wealthiest people. I mean, all of them. All of them. And then at the same exact time, normal people aren't paying attention. And then we're going to have another situation in the future when normal people realize what crypto what crypto is, where it came from, how much money there was to be made in the market, people are going to be angry because they're going to go, well, that's not fair. How do all these people have all the crypto? Mary, you had 15 years, and in the future, it'll be 25 years to accumulate, to get into the market, to learn about it in some form or fashion. You think what do you think is happening with this space? You think any of this is random? You think these people don't know each other? You think they're not all talking to BlackRock and associates being like, hey, there's big money to be made here? It's always this really weird, like, well, I wish more companies got into the space. No, they're here. They are here already buying up what you could be buying up. And then at some point, they'll own all of it. And then people will go, well, and it's like, yeah, well, you know, you had a decade and that you had decades to pay attention. The filing follows a similar S1 registration submitted by the firm in November for the same ETF, which aims to provide investors with exposure to the value of the Hedera network. We're also seeing, if you haven't heard, we're also getting a lot of the stock exchanges also filing on behalf of these companies as well. So the NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, ARCA, and the CBOE are all filing these registration forms as well to have them listed on their actual platform, which is kind of more or less a wink in the direction of the fact that they're going to be actually listed there. I'm still waiting to see if this SEC does what's correct as far as, like, you know, regulating and allowing these things to go through. But yeah, so we now have, in the last couple of days, Hedera ETF filings, Cardano ETF filings, Polkadot ETF filing, multiple XRP Litecoin for those of you who missed it. And there was there one other one? I don't remember. But a lot of these altcoins that you normally wouldn't expect are also popping up in the news as well. So there's to Hedera. That's the H bar, graph bar, bar news. And yeah, let's move on. Also, and now this is also daily news. Daily. The investigation launched in 2021 from the SEC centered on whether Uniswap operated as an unregistered securities exchange and if its Uni token constituted an unregistered security. It escalated in April 2024 when Uniswap received a Wells notice signaling potential charges against them. The SEC has now decided to drop the case against Uniswap following similar closures recently against Coinbase, Robinhood Crypto, OpenSea, and there were also two other smaller companies, but they're not as big, so they didn't make it into the news. Yes, my friends, if you haven't been paying attention or you missed the last couple of videos, shame on thee. What's happening right now is that nearly every single case or investigation that the US SEC launched against multiple cryptocurrency companies are being dropped in their entirety. Yeah, it's a little weird because I kind of wasn't expecting it. We had indications around December. Somebody mentioned that we might begin to see these lawsuits disappear or thrown into the wind. But to actually see this happening is like, okay, sure. So one of the main things for Uniswap and many other DeFi platforms, I mentioned this years ago. If you don't remember, I told people to stay away from them simply because I knew that the SEC was going to go for them. It was this, it's a crypto exchange with no real, air quotes here, no real owner to it. No real regulation could touch that actual platform. And people were making tons of money from DeFi projects that were also a little scammy and stuff years ago. But yeah, so I do not know exactly how this is going to work regulatory wise with them dropping the lawsuit. Are they going to find a way to regulate Uniswap? Is it once again a free-for-all like it was years ago? For those of you who didn't see, DeFi became very popular in 2019. It was beginning to pick up, but it kind of really gained traction in 2020 and 2021. And the thing that kind of sent everything into a tizzy was basically a lot of these protocols were launching, and a lot of these coins were launching. A lot of them were also rug pulls because they were on decentralized exchanges that, once again, no one was really monitoring them. So saith decentralization. But that guy from Shark Face, whatever that shark show is called. Oh gosh, what's his? Kevin O'Leary is his name. And he jumped head first into DeFi. Whenever rich people smell like really easy, quick money, they love to promote it. Until he was talking about it like it was like the literal second coming. He was like, this is the greatest thing ever. If you're not in DeFi, you're a loser. And one of the profiles, one of the projects that he was in got rugged. And he apparently saw that money that he had inside, because he was, if I remember correctly, I think he was promoting it because it was something like 80% return on investment. It was something ridiculous. And he was talking about the money he was making every single day. He was like, I hate regulators. Regulators are evil. And then at some point, the project he was in collapsed. Rugged, all that money was gone. The next day, this man was in a suit and tie on CNBC. You know, I love regulators, and we need them to regulate more because most of this space is a scam. And I was like, it wasn't a scam when you were making out like a bandit, but everyone else was, you know, whatever. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of these cases being completely dropped. The penultimate, the top of the pyramid that everyone's waiting for, are a lot of like the larger cryptocurrency companies. And I think one of them that no one has discussed is also Binance. Binance, I'm also waiting to see if they are re-allowed to enter the United States as Binance. Not as Binance US, but as Binance. That would also be something completely insane. Here's a tweet right here from Uniswap. It says, in April, the SEC issued a Wells notice claiming that Uniswap Labs operated as an unregistered broker, operated an exchange, and issued an unregistered security because I think there's a Uniswap token, if I remember correctly. As of yesterday, that investigation has officially been closed, and the SEC is taking no enforcement action. This is a huge win for DeFi and reaffirms what we've always known, that the technology we build on is on the right side of the law, and our work is the right. You can cool it down there. You got to pat yourself on the back that much. Like, it's cool that you won, but cool it. A lot of these platforms, I mean, Uniswap might have proven themselves. I don't use any DeFi platform. Uniswap might have proven themselves as, like, you know, a legitimate space. I don't use them. I don't know. But a lot of things built on these platforms are usually scams because people know that there's no real, in a properly decentralized protocol, there's no real moderation going on. So, you know. Yeah, we also had news recently from one of those analytical firms who said that, like, all the SEC dropping a lot of these cases could and probably will be, or bode very well for a number of projects, like legitimate projects and also like NFT projects within the space, as basically money, they say, was afraid to flow in that direction because of all the SEC action that was going on. But if all the DeFi platforms kind of get the thumbs up from the SEC and OpenSea, and what was the other one? I think it was mainly OpenSea, getting the thumbs up as well from the SEC, we might see money reflow back into these markets once again, no longer afraid of a Gary Gensler style issue. Yeah, this is daily now. I can't imagine where we're going to be in a month from here. That's the Uniswap lawsuit against them has been dropped. And yeah, let's move on. Also in popular news, the Chicago Board Options Exchange, or the CBOE, has filed a 19B-4 form with the US SEC. There's a lot of SEC news. With the US SEC to introduce staking into their 21 shares core Ethereum ETF. For those of you who have not seen it, staking is a major issue. I believe there are 5 or 6 different Ethereum ETFs within the United States. There are Ethereum ETFs in Canada, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, etc., etc., etc. And can you guess what they already all have? Staking. Yeah, they also are in kind as well. So like in America, if you have an ETF and you sell it, you get back US dollars. In Hong Kong, if you have an Ethereum ETF and you sell the shares for it, you know what you get back? You get actual Ether. Isn't that insane? So basically, one of the main ideas as to the popularity of Ethereum is being able to hold it and create more Ether out of thin air. So the other countries basically realized that, and their filings basically said, we, the company, are going to buy Ether on behalf of our clients, and basically they'll stake it. So if you hold some of the shares of that company, you would then receive passive income in the form of the Ether that was staked, which is insanely incredible. The other side was the Ethereum ETFs within the United States all filed for staking on their paperwork. And then old man Gensler was like, no, take that word out. So they all did. And then they got approved. The other part is that people want the staking. If they this is, I think, the second or third company. I think the second or third company who has tried to do something like this as far as like getting it converted, because they're going to go off the charts. Anything that gives you passive income in the investing world is like a gigantic thumbs up. If we start having in the United States all these ETFs allowed to stake that Ether, the accumulation levels are going to rise to unprecedented levels. The more you have, the more you control of the supply. Got it. The more you control of the supply, the more you can stake. Got it. The more you can stake, the more money you make passively, with additional tax benefits as a securitized version of Ether. This is going to be huge. I think these are also going to go through. What I think is happening now from a logical perspective, the SEC is doing a lot. Like, they're not doing a little. This is more than they've ever done in multiple years. So there are, I believe, anywhere between 25 to 30 current applications for ETFs being filed within the United States. Before, we had like 3 or 4 Bitcoin ones at any given time. 25 to 30 is a lot. On top of that, we have them like finishing the lawsuits or getting rid of the lawsuits from all these companies. A lot of restructuring and stuff going on. And then on top of that, the multiple companies coming forward trying to introduce staking into their Ethereum ETFs. It's just a lot happening. And I assume we're about a good 2 years off before we get any like Bitcoin staking inside the ETF news, which is also going to be a big hubbub as well. But this is gigantic. For those of you who do not know, who haven't paid attention or who haven't been keeping up with like what's actually going on, Ethereum is gigantic. And a lot of people who created other altcoins or who believe in other altcoins tend to ignore any kind of news about Ethereum, not realizing exactly how much institutional interest there actually is in that coin. So, and I say when lightly, when this does end up going through, we're going to see major spikes in the price of Ethereum because of extra accumulation, not only from the institutions, but also normal people who are going to realize exactly what's going on. Yeah, I think we've had 2 or 3 companies thus far announce that they're trying to convert the wording into staking as well within the United States. But yeah, I think this is going to be huge. So as always, continue to pay attention, really look at what's happening, which coins are interests from these larger companies, because a lot of people keep looking towards meme coins and these other nonsense things that are not going to make it anywhere. Big money's moving in one specific direction, so I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.